police training is something Mark and I have talked about on this show many times, always in the aftermath of a controversy of some kind. And when I say it doesn't work, I mean it doesn't work to the public's satisfaction, because the public tolerance for error is zero in use of deadly force, exactly like our tolerance for pilot error is zero. And so what did you find in terms of the police training, particularly as it prepares officers for the use of deadly force?
I think police training in most places, and there are exceptions, there are some academies that have done terrific and really interesting things, but in most places it emphasizes a combination of rote memorization and paranoia. So you do get it drilled into you that any situation could go bad and turn lethal for you in a millisecond. There's no such thing as a routine call. That's both totally, deeply, profoundly true. It can happen. About a week before I started the police academy, a young officer in a neighboring jurisdiction was killed responding to a domestic violence call on her very first day on the job. But it's also really misleading, because statistically, policing is not nearly as dangerous as people, including cops, think it is. And that kind of, if you get primed to think that a threat could come from anywhere at any time, you're more apt to see everybody as a threat. And in some cases, that can make officers trigger happy.
Yeah, you described it in that passage about your lack of paranoia, that the training is trying to make you paranoid enough for the job. Mark, there's a fascinating quote on page 125 of Rose's book about black police officers. She says, "More than once, I heard black recruits offer a wry justification for their decision to join the police. Why am I here? Because the safest place for a young black male in this country is behind a badge."
Yeah,
Mark,
and also a lot of the black police officers. Yeah, a lot of the black police officers will tell you, or have to acknowledge, that even their own experience, their personal experiences before becoming police officers, their cultural understanding and experiences become subsumed by a larger police culture. And they kind of lose themselves in the culture of the police. And too often, not just the culture of the police, but a lot of the toxicity that is within the police culture is the thing that really confounds and takes over. Unfortunately, I think the professor had a serious indoctrination into police culture, and sometimes the implicit bias that's built into it, the us against them tendencies that policing has, the resistance to change, the not respecting anyone outside of the law enforcement community. All of these things are part of the larger problem, which is the toxic police culture, and that is resistant to any form of change, or in the case that we've been talking about for many months, reform.
And Rosa, I just want to make clear to the audience, you were not in a ride along like many reporters and journalists have done over time in the past, where they ride along with police officers. You were a sworn officer. You were actually on duty in these situations. It was real. It was completely real. And what Mark was just talking about, I found passages in your book that reflect exactly that.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, DC has a program that's relatively unusual for major cities. It's kind of an amazing program where you can volunteer to be a part-time police officer, and you go through the same academy curriculum as full-time officers, and you come out the other end sworn, armed, with the same arrest powers and so on as full-time officers. It's actually, I think, a brilliant program, because you bring in people from the outside and you get a little bit more mixing of ideas in the force. But no question about it. I think that a lot about police training and culture does emphasize a sort of us versus them attitude. And, when I saw that clip that you aired of President Biden saying police officers are taught that they can expect to go home safe, but not everybody wearing a hoodie is a member of a gang, I sort of wish that his second statement had been, police are taught that they have the right to expect to go home safe, but so does every member in our community, right? And I think sometimes that gets lost, that there's so much focus on protecting officers that we lose sight of the fact that police officers are trained and usually paid, not in my case, but usually paid, obviously, to take risks, to take calculated risks. And it's not inappropriate. Obviously, we should expect officers to defend themselves when they're in danger, as they sometimes are. But at the same time, we should expect officers to understand that their top priority is protecting the communities that they serve.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.